do not believe that the United States today, in 2020, is a racist country.
It's often a straightforward process in this country. You hold an election for office, a clear winner is declared, and that person assumes the position once the votes are counted and certified. But Newburn, Alabama is a bit different. They haven't held elections for years, with the position often handed down from father to son for multiple generations, until one man went against the norm. And he says it's led to him being blocked from his mayoral duties for years. Now the battle over who's really in charge is at the center of a federal lawsuit as tensions run high. Our Steve Osinsami has the tale of two mayors.
Newburn, Alabama is one of those small places in America where you'll find nearly a dozen churches to worship the Lord, but not a single grocery store. It's barely a mile long with about 200 people, an old cotton town where the history of slavery still lives deep in the soil. Even the cemeteries are still racially segregated. This is where white people are buried. And over here is the dirt road that takes you to a hill where the descendants of former slaves still bury their dead today.
I'm not trying to divide the town, just want to make the town better.
For the first time ever, a child of those black ancestors has become the city's mayor, hoping he can bring people together. But in a lawsuit he's filed in federal court, he says that some of his white neighbors have kept him from the job and locked him out of office. And he's seen here arguing with one of them outside the building, a city clerk who he and his black voters tried to persuade to their side but failed.
What you're doing is unjust.
No, it's not.
It is. It's absolutely unjust. It's unjust by this gentleman and it's unjust by the people of this town.
Do you feel cheated?
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel discriminated against?
Yes.
What is it that you want to see happen?
I want to take my rightful seat and I want to hold each and every one of them accountable for what they did.
56-year-old Patrick Braxton was born and raised here and became the city's first black mayor in 2020 when he quietly filed the paperwork at this county courthouse to run for the position. Up until that year, no one had ever officially put in for the job.
How many years has this place gone without an election?
I think they said about 60 something.
So then how was the mayor decided here?
Just hand it down, hand it down.
And let me guess, what was the race of this mayor in this town? What's it always been?
White.
Yeah, every single time.
Yes.
The mayor at the time was this man, Haywood Stokes III. His father, Haywood Stokes Jr., who died 10 years ago, was the mayor before. And in a response to the federal lawsuit, he and his lawyers admit that the town of Newburn has not held an election for years prior to decide who leads their city. But they deny that there's any racism or a conspiracy here to keep black people out of office. He and Patrick Braxton are both volunteers at the fire station on Main Street. They've known each other for more than a decade. So it was a shock to everyone when the legal deadline had passed to run for the job, and this time a black man, Patrick Braxton, had gone through the trouble of filing the proper paperwork and was the one and only candidate. Months later, he was seen here, being sworn into office by a state judge. And like previous mayors before him, he appointed his own city council, who put their hands on the Bible that same warm evening.
You know, we was very excited. We had one meeting.
You did have a meeting in City Hall?
One, yes.
Oh.
We got a chance to come in, you know, and
try to get organized.
Tried to organize what, you know, that was it.
They say it felt good in a town where 85% of the residents are black to finally have a city council that looked more like the people they serve.
So you met the former mayor, Woody, after you were sworn in?
Yes.
And there didn't appear to be any problems?
No problem.
And said, here's the keys?
Yeah.
And that's it?
That's it, and walked off.
So now you have a meeting at City Hall. When did the doors get locked?
Well, we don't know.
The next day, we don't know exactly when. I guess they knew we was there.
Can you imagine? It's a city hall. It's the town hall, and it's locked forever. It's been locked for 2 years now. Well, I feel that it's all about race. And I don't mind saying that. That's what it's about, because I've lived here all my life.
According to their lawsuit, they're also locked out of the city's accounts at this bank on the other side of the county. Meanwhile, the black city council members say that the old city council continues to collect taxes, pay the lawn crews, and somehow conduct regular business.
Do you even know who's holding the meetings?
No.
No, and they must be holding it in a private home.
You may hang up or press 1 for more options.
We tried more than once to get the former mayor's side of the story, knocking on his door when it appeared he was home. He didn't answer. In court filings, Woody III explains his position, accusing Mayor Braxton of living outside the city limits, which would disqualify Braxton from being the mayor. And it is true that Mayor Braxton has more than one home, one that he uses as his city residence that he rents, and this one where he lives with his family outside the city. Here's where it gets more complicated. Mr. Woody Stokes is arguing that he gets to hold on to the job because of a special election he claims was held in October to vote on the new city council, weeks before the black city council was sworn in, where only the old city council members qualified to run, and because of that, kept their jobs. He says his old city council put him back in charge. But in his lawsuit, Mayor Braxton says that his side didn't even know that a special election was happening, and says that if it did, it was no good, saying that it took place in secret and that no notice of a special election was ever published.
Y'all just need to go on and leave us alone. There's not a story here.
We went to the Mercantile Store, a small diner across the street from the town hall, a place that black residents say is ground zero for Mayor Braxton's opposition. We were told to leave the room.
You just need to go on and leave us alone. It's going to be a black and white thing, and y'all know it.
If you're living and you're working here, someone can make your life living hell. It can really affect you, your family. You will be quiet.
On our walk with the mayor, the few white residents we met who support him were only comfortable telling us so off camera.
You see what I've been trying to tell you?
Yeah. Yeah. That people are afraid.
Yeah.
Of what?
I don't know what it is. They friends, who gonna stop speaking to them?
One small exception was the kind woman working at the town's new library who didn't really want to take a side.
I think it's very unfortunate for the town of Newburn to have to go through this conflict, and I'm hoping that people will listen to each other and be graceful with each other and come together as the Newburn community.
Laquina Lewis has become sort of a political activist who works with the mayor.
Who's everyone afraid of around here?
You tell me. Power, the power structure.
These are some of the frightening letters filled with racial slurs that she says she's gotten in the mail.
This is why I just can't say it's not race. I received a lot of hate mail that referenced lynchings and name calling, referenced my children. So this is personal for me, and this is serious. This isn't a game. And obviously, people want it to go away.
One of the white residents who we saw in the restaurant, he said, you know, you guys are just going to make it about race. What do you say to that?
Look at the deck of cards. It's not necessarily about race, but we have to admit and be honest that race does play a small factor in this.
I feel so guilty. Really, I do. Because we have allowed this to happen to us for years and years. We allowed it to happen. I've never known a black man, even if it was a white man, being elected mayor here in Newburn. I've never known that. And we should have said something, done something, see could we get some help from somewhere, but we didn't.
Why?
And that's what I asked myself, why?
The mayor, who according to a state court is still this man, wants the state or federal court to come to town and make things right. But if they don't, he says he's not going away, and that there will be a real election when his term is up. He has big hopes to finally bring in a grocery store. It's high time, he says, for black folks in small towns like his to start claiming a little more agency over their own lives.
It has to disappoint you that it's along racial lines.
Yes. Because I had one little lady told me the town wasn't ready for a black male.
Someone told you that?
Yes.
Was it a white lady who
Yes.
told you that? The town wasn't ready for a black man?
Yes.
What did you say to her?
They better get ready. Because I'm him.
I ended up seeing this video, and a part of me is surprised by some things, but a part of me is not surprised by others. This is a small town in Alabama. It looks to be possibly on the lower end of it seems to be on the lower end of the tax bracket, and this small town doesn't even have a grocery store. It looks like it could use some work, it could use some funds, but it seems like even the town coming together to maybe do something so they can have a better quality of life overall for everyone, they are willing to hold on to this false sense of power, false sense of superiority they have. The former mayor, of course, is a colorless man, and the position has been passed down and handed down through his family for over 60 years. And the town does not look appealing. So it would go to say, since this town doesn't have a grocery store, doesn't have the basics, that it's a reason why, and they could be funneling the money to themselves. Of course, they're collecting taxes and the town looks like this, but yet he wouldn't know why people would vote him out. Now, to go by their rules, this is supposed to be the will of the people, and this man was elected mayor, the new mayor, and was sworn in. The majority voted, but they didn't like what the majority said, so they took it upon themselves to have a quote-unquote special election. I'm going to guess that this is his family members who made this decision, since it was nepotism that put him in the office to begin with, and nepotism that put his father in office before him. And this is no different than what Trump was trying to do and trying to say. It's the same energy. They're going to fight tooth and nail to hold on to power. Now, a lot of people didn't want to talk. It seems like they're intimidated. I can understand why. But at some point, you're going to have to make a decision. Are you going to be intimidated? Are you going to remain intimidated? Or are you going to take a leap of faith, take a chance? Because you already know what's coming down the line for your children and grandchildren, and it's going to be more of the same. So if that's going to be the future, why not try your best to change it? Now, the woman in the library, Carolyn, she is not a nice lady. I'm sorry. She is not standing up for what the Bible Belt tries to say, which is good, which is right. And she knows that what's happening is not right. But she doesn't want to speak out because she knows there's consequences, and she'll be looked at as trying to help the blacks. I'm glad that he is fighting for this position. I'm glad that he will continue to pursue this, because what they're doing is very underhanded. What they need to do is comply, turn over the keys to the new mayor, and allow the new mayor to do his job. They need to comply, and they need to leave because they were voted out and someone else was voted in. It was said that race plays a small factor in this. That comment was so disheartening, because from where I'm sitting and looking at this story, the majority of the sentiments are because of race and also power. And I think both of them are on equal planes here. But I'll go ahead and leave it right here. Let me know what you think about this story, and I will see you in the next one.